But we appreciate very much what all you do for the foster family. And I'm going to turn it over to you. By the way, we $444 today, so that's great. So that's going to be about $800 more to our treasury fund. I'll wait till Barbara clears out.
Deep hands. This afternoon's program is dedicated to my forever cousins, especially Nan, my genealogical genius, and my newly acquainted cousins, to my dear sister and brother-in-law, Carol and Steve, and most particularly to my husband, Henry, and daughter, Caitlin, who define the blessing of family for me every single day. What makes this family a living, continuing thing is the capacity of a sufficient number of the people in it to participate with compassion, selflessness, and intensity in the daily lives of all the others, whether linked by blood or simple affection. So wrote the incomparable Mississippi author Eudora Welty. She continued, "The mystery is the love that can bind such a family together, even after the frontier, sociological or geographic, which has required it to stand together in a particular place, has passed on." Today we honor Zachariah Smith, the forebear of many of us, whose life we celebrate as the bicentennial of his death approaches. Upon a memory thread, I will string stories of a lost horse, a burned boat, a dozen children, a fateful encounter, a long journey, 3 sisters and 3 brothers, Daniel Boone, Charles Percy, David Smith, Anthony Hutchins, Queen Elizabeth II, and the gift of a pineapple cake. Family history is fascinating, even when it is very frustrating. Trying to ascertain the precise lineage of long-departed ancestors requires ample assumptions and adequate faith. Many family researchers agree that Zachariah was the son of Ambrose Joshua Smith. Some are adamant, however, that Ambrose Joshua was born in the 1660s, and others ascribe to a 1703 birthday. I am firmly in the latter camp because dates and documents align more reasonably in that scenario. Many Smith descendants believe that Ambrose Joshua had 2 wives, both named Judith. Zachariah's father and mother died in August 1758 during an Indian attack in Chatham County, North Carolina. Ambrose Joshua Smith was born in Hanover, later Louisa County, Virginia. Son Zachariah, the third of 7 children, arrived on August 19, 1734. By 1741, court documents reveal that Ambrose Joshua is serving as a justice of the peace in the county and as a captain in the local militia. Louisa County, created in 1742, is located in between Richmond and Charlottesville, almost in the geographical center of the state. On January 11, 1740, a curious ad appeared in the Virginia Gazette. It reads, "Stolen or strayed on the 14th of October last from Mr. Ambrose Joshua Smith's plantation on Beaver Creek in Hanover County, a chestnut sorrel mare, about 14 hands high, branded on the rear buttock with the eye of," and the words are illegible, "has never been ducked, but the tail has been trimmed under the tail. The hair has been trimmed under the tail, which makes a switchtail. He is above 10 years old and paces well. Whoever drives this horse to Mr. Christopher Smith at Mr. John Snelson's in Hanover County shall have a proper reward. We don't know the fate of the lost horse, but many Smith researchers maintain that Christopher Smith was Ambrose Joshua's father, and that his mother was Catherine Nelson. By locating this ad containing the names of Smith and Snelson and linking them to Ambrose Joshua, we can postulate a family relationship. If indeed Christopher Smith is part of Ambrose Joshua's family tree, and thus Zachariah's, then the line can be traced back to Elizabeth Townley Halstead. In 1624, she married a Christopher Smith in Lancashire, England. Assuming that genetic proof exists to substantiate the connection, Zachariah's descendants can claim kinship to Elizabeth Angela Marguerite Bowers Lyon, recently magnificently portrayed by Helena Bonham Carter in The King's Speech, and otherwise known as the late Queen Mother Elizabeth's mum. Early colonial records document Ambrose Joshua's vigorous land speculation. His purchases in Hanover County totaled 11,542 acres between 1724 and 1741. Beginning in 1751, he is buying land in Anson County, North Carolina, and during the next 7 years, he accumulates 4,498 acres spread across several counties. Just a month prior to his purported demise in 1758, Smith buys 752 acres of land in the mostly uninhabited section of Rowan County. This is a copy of that deed, and it has Ambrose Joshua Smith's signature, which I think is just very exciting to be able to have that. And then this shows you where Anson County is located in North Carolina. So you can see it's right on what is today the border of North Carolina and South Carolina. And originally Anson County incorporated about 5 of the counties around it, but as people moved in, the counties became smaller. So this is where he was purchasing his land. Clues gleaned from North Carolina deeds support additional presumed family relationships. In 1756, Ambrose Joshua purchases 1,200 acres from a John Spann of Johnson County. He is likely the father of Ambrose Joshua's wife Judith, mother of Zachariah, though Spann family historians strongly dismiss this alliance. In 1753, a Pennsylvania family moves to property adjoining Ambrose Joshua in Rowan County. Squire Nathan Boone Sr. settles on 640 acres near Bear Creek. With him is his son Daniel, born the same year as Zachariah. Is it possible that Zachariah befriended Daniel and that years later, upon leaving South Carolina for the Natchez District, part of his journey might have taken the Smiths along the famous Boone Trail? Ambrose Joshua Smith died without a will, and John Spann, remember that name, administered the estate. With no legal document naming all of Ambrose Joshua's children, authenticating their parentage is nearly impossible. But John Spann, who served as executor, may have been Judith Smith's brother or possibly her nephew. In January of 1756, Zachariah purchases 200 acres from a Thomas Prestwood for 25 pounds. This land is also in Anson County on the north side of the Great PD River. On September 10, 1756, Zachariah marries Thomas and Elizabeth, known as Betty, Ely Prestwood's daughter, Frances Elizabeth. One wonders, did the young people meet during the property transfer earlier that year? Frances was only 15 when she married, having been born March 27, 1741. On September 1757, Zachariah and Frances's first child, William Moses, is born. A very prolific couple, the children number an even dozen in the next 23 years. The last child, Nancy, is born at the end of 1781. With 5 sons and 7 daughters, the Smiths face daunting responsibilities for the well-being of their many offspring. Zachariah never accumulates as much acreage as his father. Between 1756 and 1766, Anson County court records detail 3 purchases. Each of the properties is 200 acres and is located in the Great PD and Little River vicinity. 2 deeds describe Zachariah as a blacksmith, and then in a couple of other deeds, he is recorded as owning a mill in the Little Creek area. One can conclude that he practices blacksmithing along with the mill operations. Between 1770 and 1777, 3 parcels of land are sold. The 1774 deed is of interest to us because it describes Zachariah Smith and Fanny, his wife, as being of South Carolina. Though no deeds have been discovered for property in that state, family tradition maintains that the Smiths migrated to the Natchez District from the PG River area in South Carolina. And because they lived so close to the border, they could have been going back and forth. As I think about Zachariah, I imagine a smallish man, perhaps 5'7" or so. He has a coarse beard, dark eyes, and leathery skin from constant exposure to hard weather. His face is kindly, and though his language is somewhat uncultured and unlettered, he speaks with a quiet authority. Setting the historical context of Zachariah's lifespan, which is 1734 to 1812, consider that it closely mirrors that of King George III of England, 1738 to 1820, and George Washington, 1732 to 1799. In Bertram Wyatt Brown's book, The House of Percy, Honor, Melancholy, and Imagination in the Southern Family, is found this description. Hard-handed though they were, the Smiths, by all accounts, were uncommonly intelligent and handsome. No one questioned their essential honesty. Looking around this room and so many of Zachariah and Francis's descendants, it's easy to appreciate that the description remains apropos. While living in North Carolina, Zachariah is active in local civic affairs. His signature appears on the famous Regulators Petition, which originated in Anson County. Dated October 9, 1769, this important historical document was presented to the North Carolina Assembly. The Regulators chose their name precisely because they were attempting to regulate local government. Regulators petitioned for redress, asserting that all our liberties and privileges are invaded and abridged. Specific complaints include disproportionate taxes in the western counties and a declaration that lawyers, clerks, and other petitioners are a nuisance, and that the business of the people is often transacted without the least degree of fairness, the intention of the law evaded, exorbitant fees extorted, and the sufferers left to mourn under their oppressions. To remedy these charges, petitioners humbly ask that all elections and each suffrage be given by ticket and ballot, that the mode of taxation be altered, and that each person pay in proportion to the profits arising from